On crossing stage to write. If you look into the actor's prompt books, the most frequent direction which you will find is this: cross stage to write. It is not a mere direction, it is a formula. It is not a formula only, but a universal remedy. Whenever the action seems to flag, or the dialogue to become weak or wordy, you must cross stage to write. No matter what is wrong with the play, this will set it right. We have heard so much of the action of a play, that the stage manager in England seems to imagine that dramatic action is literally a movement of people across the stage, even if for no other reason than for movement's sake. Is the play weak? He tries to strengthen it, poor thing, by sending it out walking for its health. If we take drama with any seriousness, as an art as well as an improvisation, we shall realize that one of its main requirements is that it should make pictures. That is the lesson of Bayreuth, and when one comes away, the impression which remains, almost longer than the impression of the music itself, is that grave, regulated motion of the actors. As I have said elsewhere, no actor makes a gesture which has not been regulated for him. There is none of that unintelligent haphazard known as being natural. These people move like music, or with that sense of motion which it is the business of painting to arrest. But here, of course, I am speaking of the poetic drama, of drama which does not aim at the realistic representation of modern life. Maeterlinck should be acted in this solemn way, in a kind of convention, but I admit that you cannot act Ibsen in quite the same way. The other day, when Madame Jeanne Granier's company came over here to give us some lessons in acting, I watched a little scene in La Veine, which was one of the telling scenes of the play, Guitry and Brasseur standing face to face for some minutes, looking at their watches, and then waiting, each with a single, fixed expression on his face, in which the whole temperament of each is summed up. One is inclined to say, no English actor could have done it. Perhaps, but then, no English stage manager would have let them do it. They would have been told to move, to find business, to indulge in gesture which would not come naturally to them. Again, in Tartuffe, when, at the end, the hypocrite is exposed and led off to prison, Coquelin simply turns his back on the audience, and stands with head sullenly down, making no movement. Then, at the end, he turns half round and walks straight off, on the nearer side of the stage, giving you no more than a momentary glimpse of a convulsed face, fixed into a definite, gross, raging mood. It would have taken Mr. Tree 5 minutes to get off the stage, and he would have walked to and fro with a very multiplication of gesture, trying on one face, so to speak, after another. Would it have been so effective, that is to say, so real? A great part of the art of French acting consists in knowing when and how not to do things. Their blood helps them, for there is movement in their blood, and they have something to restrain. But they have realized the art there is in being quite still, in speaking naturally, as people do when they are really talking, in fixing attention on the words they are saying and not on their antics while saying them. The other day, in the first act of the Bishop's Move at the Garrick, there is a duchess talking to a young novice in the refectory of a French abbey. After standing talking to him for a few minutes, with only such movements as would be quite natural under the circumstances, she takes his arm, not once only but twice, and walks him up and down in front of the footlights, for no reason in the world except to cross stage to write. The stage trick was so obvious that it deprived the scene at once of any pretense to reality. The fact is, that we do not sufficiently realize the difference between what is dramatic and what is merely theatrical. Drama is made to be acted, and the finest literary play in the world, if it wholly fails to interest people on the stage, will have wholly failed in its first and most essential aim. But the finer part of drama is implicit in the words and in the development of the play, and not in its separate small details of literal action. Two people should be able to sit quietly in a room, without ever leaving their chairs, and to hold our attention breathless for as long as the playwright likes. Given a good play, French actors are able to do that. Given a good play, English actors are not allowed to do it. Is it not partly the energy, the restless energy, of the English character which prevents our actors from ever sitting or standing still on the stage. We are a nation of travelers, of sailors, of business people, and all these have to keep forever moving. Our dances are the most vigorous and athletic of dances, they carry us all over the stage, with all kinds of leaping and kicking movements. Our music hall performers have invented a kind of clowning peculiar to this country, in which kicking and leaping are also a part of the business. Our melodramas are constructed on more movable planes, with more formidable collapses and collisions, than those of any other country. Is not, then, the persistent English habit of crossing stage to right a national characteristic, ingrained in us, and not only a matter of training? It is this reflection which hinders me from hoping, with much confidence, that a reform in stage management will lead to a really quieter and simpler way of acting. But might not the experiment be tried? Might not some stage manager come forward and say, "For heaven's sake stand still, my dear ladies and gentlemen, and see if you cannot interest your audience without moving more than twice the length of your own feet"?